Hi, I'm Andy, and welcome to Python Puzzles. Don't panic, but one of the hardest things for a beginner to learn is virtual environments with Python. It's a huge stumbling block. Most beginners just skip over it. They don't understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. They end up just using the system-wide version of Python, which will work for most of these puzzles. You can use that as a get-out-of-jail-free card. But it's a lot better if you just learn how to use Python virtual environments right off the bat. So I'm going to take you through how to do that now in PyCharm and VS Code. I'll be using PyCharm for the rest of this course. Just follow along with me and I'll take you through this step by step. This is the hardest part of the whole course. If you take a look at the graphic, the purple square represents your entire computer, the whole hard disk. The red and blue squares represent virtual environments 1 and virtual environments 2. Just think of virtual environments as like little silos, their own little worlds. Nothing inside the virtual environment knows anything about anything outside of the virtual environment. It's all completely contained within there. So you're seeing this word dependency written all over the screen. What's a dependency? So rather than writing all your own code, you don't have to recode the entire internet. There's libraries available in Python, libraries like NumPy, which has all these number functions that are already pre-written that you can use, and Django, which gives you the ability to quickly build websites and APIs, and Matplotlib, which helps you design graphs. So you don't have to write this code yourself. What you can do is you can sort of call in these functions from these libraries and use them within your code. That's a dependency. For your code to run then, it starts needing to use these libraries, these NumPy, Django, whatever. But more than that, it needs to run the specific version of that library, because these libraries they're kept up to date by a whole bunch of other developers, and they add new features, they take features out, they change a lot. So when your code says, hey, I want to use a function in Django or a function in NumPy, it means it needs to use a function in a specific version of NumPy probably for the program to fully behave the way you designed it to behave when you were using that version of the dependency. So dependency is something you depend on. Your code depends on to run it. So the important thing to notice here about the virtual environments is they have different dependencies. Virtual environment 2 has Scrappy. Virtual environment 1 doesn't have that. They also have different versions of the same dependency. You have NumPy version 1.8 in virtual environment 1, and they've upgraded that to version 1.9 in virtual environment 2. So I want you to think of yourself at a development job, and you've got one client. Virtual environment 1 might be the client's current application that they're currently using, and it needs NumPy version 1.8 and Django version 4.2. But you're working on the next version of the application with additional cool features. And these cool features are going to involve a new dependency, Scrappy. So you would create a second environment and you would install Scrappy version 2.11.2. And you might also take this, a good opportunity, to upgrade NumPy and Django to the most recent versions. Let's say they go up to version 1.9 for NumPy and version 4.3 for Django. This keeps your application current, because if your application was 5-10 years old, that old version of your dependency might not be supported anymore by the current version of Python or some other dependency that runs your dependency. Dependencies can be interlinked as well. So just think of virtual environments as their own little silos where everything lives in its own little world, and you want to come into that world and run code and then leave that world and enter another world, another virtual environment. If you've been sort of following along with my C# puzzles channel that has the same puzzles as this one, you'll notice they don't have virtual environments. They've taken a completely different design approach. They have like CS project files, and they have NuGet package manager. This is how they do sort of dependencies. Python's taken this virtual environment approach, and a lot of beginners just skip this because it's too complicated. You kind of have to learn some extra commands, and you have to learn the command line, and you have to learn maybe some features in the IDE. So you can get away with just using that big purple square and just running your code on the system, just having the one version of Python installed. That's another thing. Maybe Virtual Environment 2 has a newer version of Python installed. Maybe Virtual Environment 1 has, Python 3.8, and Virtual Environment 2 is Python 3.12, and your computer has got Python 3.11. You wouldn't want to have to continually uninstall and reinstall stuff on your main computer, depending on what code you're running. Oh, it's the old code. I need to take Django down to version 4.2. Oh, it's the new code. Let's upgrade it to version 4.3. You don't want to do that. You just want to have it in its own little silo. And the good news about virtual environments is you can sort of package them and put them in repositories, and then people can just download it. So this is a very Python sort of approach. Different languages do things a bit differently, like C# and other languages. Now, in the repositories of the puzzles is a requirements.txt file. This just lists all the dependencies and all the versions. And what you'll be doing is you'll be creating a virtual environment. You'll be going into that in virtual environment, and then you'll just be running like a command that says, hey, look at requirements.txt and download all those dependencies and those specific versions and just install them in this environment. So that's basically how virtual environments work in Python. I'm going to give you some more in-depth videos about using the command line to create these virtual environments. And I'm going to do it in Windows, so I'm going to kind of go over the differences between using command prompt and PowerShell to do this, slightly different. And I'm also going to show you an in-depth video of PyCharm, the IDE I'll be using for the rest of this course, how it can help you easily create virtual environments and how you can access the terminal within there. And I'm also going to do a separate video in VS Code because I use VS Code for everything except Python. And it's a very popular IDE, so I'm just going to show you how to handle virtual environments in that. And then we're into the puzzles. This is the hardest bit. This is like you've been dropped in the deep end right away in Python if you decide to learn this. Just go for it, guys. You can always refer back to the videos I'm making about PyCharm and VS Code. And I'll try to give you a brief intro about how to do these virtual environments in every puzzle, so you kind of get it into your head and you just learn this. But in a real development job, you're going to be using virtual environments all of the time. So just learn it now. Okay?